I cannot believe how many people freaked out over that episode with Ahsoka and Hayden Christensen and just completely ignored everything, like the majority of the show, which is terrible. If you're judging it based on how it looks or who shows up or what's happening in a specific moment, but if that's what your judgment is because it looks so cool when Zuko does a quarter flip kick and he shoots fire out of his feet, if that's your judgment based on the show, you're wrong. Think about this. He wanted to become the immortal Davy Jones. What does he do?
He realized that was not the life to live.
No, he was gonna stab the heart. He gave it to Will so that he doesn't die.
Okay. In that moment, yes, he did.
No, he's done this every movie. Yes. Every movie he has development. You're just wild and saying things that you don't understand or haven't analyzed.
I'm just pushing the buttons of a character that you have loved for years upon years. You will not accept that there is some flaws with the character Jack Sparrow.
Welcome back to the Wacky, Wonderful, Wise Works podcast, all you guys, gals, geeks, and goofballs. Wyatt's missing. Wyatt's missing.
Wyatt's not here. He had a thing at work. Well, he had this thing at work where, as everybody knows, he's talked about it before, he does lawn care. And he accidentally tripped and fell when he was trimming the hedges, as some would say, and got a nasty medical emergency. So
he took a fall.
He took a someone would say that. And he will be out for at least 4 months. No.
At least.
He'll probably be back next week, but hopefully he's good.
Yeah, he'll be back next week. Expect to see him next week. But listen, before we get too deep, we're going to be talking about Avatar The Last Airbender.
Yep.
There's Netflix news on the Zelda movie. All right.
Yep. Possibly, maybe Tom Holland being Link.
Also,
maybe, possibly.
A little bit of Henry Cavill and Highlander news. If you're a fan of Highlander, if you're a fan of Henry Cavill, you're going to be into what is going to be going on with this movie. And you're probably a future fan of Highlander if you haven't seen the original. Honestly.
Oh, yeah.
You're probably a future fan of Highlander.
You throw Henry Cavill in anything and you're like,
look, I'm going to make a prediction.
What?
This is going to hit. Look, there's going to be so many people that are going to be huge Highlander fans.
Because of Henry?
This next year, in 2025, whenever this is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Huge fans of Highlander because
it's going to be huge.
Remake. It's going to be huge. And you don't even know it yet. You're just kind of passively thinking, Highlander, what is this? I think I remember seeing someone watching an older movie called Highlander, but guess what? You're going to be such a huge fan in the next couple years. You don't even see it coming. It's like at the beginning of Game of Thrones.
Well, you're it's going to be great, but don't build it up too much.
No one knew what Game of Thrones was going to be and how like no one at the beginning of that first season or right before it came out or when they're in production, no one knew. You know what I'm saying? No one knew it was going to be the largest cinematic series event.
You think
multiple
that's
events
going to be the largest
in history. And well, I'm just saying how much people came to love and enjoy the next episode that's coming out next week for Game of Thrones. You don't even realize how much you're going to be a fan of it. So stick around. We're obviously getting into the thick of it. Before I wanted to do all this, I guess good news. We didn't really decide on this last week, but I guess good news.
Okay.
So last episode, which actually came out, in the episode I said it's either lasting till next year or it's going to be over by time this episode comes out. So the actor strike struck a deal because apparently it's going to be too catastrophic for the strike to have lasted until next year, which I agree. I think it was on the verge of being a catastrophe, but they struck a deal within a week of when we were talking about it. So, yeah, they did it. The SAG-AFTRA strike is over. And I mentioned this in the pre-show on Patreon. I've been watching Peaky Blinders, and when they're really running their factory, every time there's a strike, someone comes into the factory, just blows a whistle, whoosh, and everyone like puts their tools down and leaves. It's kind of funny how much there's striking going on in Peaky Blinders, but that's neither here nor there. The official Hollywood strikes have come to a close.
They
Both the
have.
actors and the writers, and apparently, just to give you an update there, a while ago we talked about how Marvel animators were looking to unionize. Don't think that ever happened. I think they
Well,
might still be trying, but I don't. And no one is, what do you call it? Uh, it I don't know. It's not promising, I guess, that it's going to be.
no. I
Thing.
mean, what it seems like they've come to some kind of conclusion overall, and I actually asked someone who's a part of that, who's pretty thick into the Hollywood Marvel
Thick and heavy.
stuff, and at least I got some inside stuff, and they said that there's probably not going to be anything happening, but we will have to wait and see if anything does develop. But I don't think.
Do you mind? Let me see. Did the Marvels come out, right?
Yep, it came out this past weekend.
All right. Rotten Tomatoes. Let's look at to see what the recent Marvels, Rotten Tomatoes is sitting
it's
at.
gonna be bad. You might not get
Well, hold
all the
on.
information because it just came out as of recording this like 2 days ago.
Okay,
but
hold on. Check this out.
I don't think
This
it's gonna
is
be great.
very interesting. Very interesting. The audience score, which is usually the most realistic, we'll look at the details, is sitting at an 85. And the
Okay, out of
critics
how many?
and the
But
critics at
that
a
also could
62.
be. Actually, no.
All
Maybe.
audiences, it puts it at a
Wait, what?
72.
Oh, okay.
So verified audience, which is like people, verified by Rotten Tomatoes, and then people that just leave. We're talking about 5,000, 500 verified, 5,000 general. Those are low numbers already, kind
Mhm.
of. Maybe not for Rotten Tomatoes. Maybe it's pretty typical in opening weekend, but that's a very small testing pool. And
What
when
is
it comes to
40?
critics,
All
for
42?
57 top critic reviews. So, just like so 264 all critics,
Mhm.
Rotten Tomato critics, 62%. And then the top 57, I guess it means like they have a reputation or they have a certain tomato
Yeah.
score or something based on how active they are.
Well, we have talked about this where their ratings and the I guess the life of it being in theaters is solely hinging on this weekend or this past weekend that already happened because it's coming
Right.
out on Friday. Because as of us doing this podcast this weekend, Hunger Games, the Song of
Is
Songbirds and Snakes is coming out. Actually, today it is out. So
right.
I'm the only one weekend before that came out, and so I don't think a lot of people are going to be going to watch Marvels after
Again, right?
Hunger Games
Well, you
when Hunger
can't.
Games is coming out.
We had a couple people that was responding because we talked about this in the live. A
Yeah,
couple people were saying in the comments, yeah, no interest in watching the Marvels at all. Pretty interested in watching Hunger Games,
yeah,
which is exactly kind of what we predicted.
yeah.
Let's see. I'm looking to see if I can find where the box office is for the
Okay.
Marvels on IMDb, and for some reason, I'm not seeing it listed. I wonder if they are not listing it on purpose. I wonder if they've been bought off. No, I'm just spreading rumors.
They've not been bought off.
Let's see if I can just Google it and find the answer. Box office numbers for the Marvels 2023. Okay. So the Marvels is expected to make. No, what's the actual box office numbers? The latest MCU adventure has made 6.6 million in previews at the box office. What is that supposed to mean? Is
Well,
expected to make between.
It's only been one day as of recording this.
No,
Yeah,
it's been a week. Right?
No,
it's been a week.
It came out this weekend.
As of recording this and Hunger Games is coming out simultaneously?
No, one is coming out one weekend, and then the following weekend, the Hunger Games is coming out.
So next weekend, from when we're recording this, is the Hunger Games.
Hunger Games. The weekend that this will be released, Hunger Games is coming out on the 17th. But right now, when we're recording this, it's only been a day since Marvels has been out. And so there's not quite accurate numbers yet, probably.
All right, so it's expected to make between 60 million and 65 million opening weekend. That's the projections for this whole weekend. That means just today and tomorrow. The first movie, check out these numbers. So their best hopes and predictions are still so low. The first movie, the first Captain Marvel, which came out in 2019, its opening weekend was $153 million. Opening weekend. So this is less than half of what the first movies was. Okay.
Well, and you know what they're going to blame it on? They're going to say, we didn't have much advertisements. We couldn't send the actresses or actors out to promote the film because of the strikes. We couldn't do this because of the strikes. We had this circumstance, so that is not why.
Gonna bring up COVID.
No, everybody. No,
everyone's still using COVID as an excuse that people aren't ready to come back to theaters yet, right?
Yeah, it's
so dumb.
Whatever. Let's. I don't care about the Marvels and to talk about.
I'm just saying. Look, we've been talking about it for a minute. It's now starting its rollout, and it has the lowest expected numbers as far as revenue for any Marvel film. Any has much lower than Ant-Man and the Wasp, and that was considered a failure. This movie cost a lot, and it's taken a long time to get it made. Man, I think Joe Rogan. So Joe Rogan had Whitney Cummings on yesterday.
Yeah,
they were dogging on Marvel and Disney because of the South Park episode. The biggest podcast in the world,
which is dogging
on Disney, not just South Park. It's now reaching the. Do you know how many people, if they hadn't watched that South Park episode or they hadn't been paying attention to Disney, now thinks they're a joke? Because Joe Rogan talked about it with Whitney Cummings.
Yeah.
Ooh, you guys are taking hit after hit.
They're taking a lot of hits, but I don't think Joe Rogan's audience is probably very saturated male-based audience.
And guess who buys Marvel? Guess who watches Marvel? That's the whole problem with
not Marvel's. Marvel's specifically about 3 women superheroes is going to be more women.
Because that's why everything is failing right up to now, because they're taking the legs off of male characters and propping up women characters to reach across the aisle. That's the whole episode for South Park. This is not a genre that women pay for. Women pay for all of the. You got to be out of your mind if you are wanting to entertain women.
I'm out of my mind.
Hold on. If you're wanting to entertain women and you are not getting into the reality TV, I mean, Love is Blind, obviously The Bachelor's Legacy.
But they can't have 2 things or 3 things. And
Naked Attraction is the latest crazy show. 90 Day Fiance. The Kardashians. These are the shows that women pay for and will for sure make you a success. So I'm wondering, why is it that we're infiltrating?
You're making wild statements here.
I'm not. This is 100%.
You're generalizing a lot of statements here.
Joshua, there's always exceptions.
Joshua.
Always
There's
exceptions.
exceptions. There's exceptions.
Always there are exceptions. But if we are talking about how you're going to make money from general audiences, Marvel is probably, I would say, at least I'm giving a huge number to the women here. 70% men.
Okay.
Huge number to the men. I mean, huge number to the women. I think
No, I think
realistically,
that's
it's
about
probably more
accurate.
like in my
I think that's
heart,
accurate. No.
I think it's more 85% men. But I'll give it to
No,
you
I
and say
disagree.
70%
I
men.
disagree.
Okay.
I think it's 65% men, maybe
No,
70% men.
it's
There
definitely not.
there is a lot.
At 65, you're
There is a
practically
lot.
saying 50-50. That's not true.
There
That's not
is
true.
Marvel is something that
I'm sorry.
women
Girls
can
don't grow
also
up
watch
wanting
and
to be
enjoy.
superheroes.
No, not generally, but because
Generally, I
of
would say probably maybe 15 to 30% of girls grow up interested in superheroes,
that's why we're
which would
giving it
leave us at 70 to
65%.
85% men.
No, that's why we're leaving it at 65% men, and I agree it's
I
mostly
think
men, but
I
there
think
is
your
a
opinion
still
look, I think
huge
your
group
opinion
of
would make
women that
so
would
many
watch it.
people look, your opinion would make so many people at Marvel so happy because they're like, "Yeah, it is almost a 50-50 split. We should make
No, I'm not
more
saying it's
female superheroes."
almost a 50-50,
I'm
but
telling you, the
there is
truth
women that watch it,
the
my
truth
guy.
is that the truth is that the reason
No,
people watch
don't
Marvel
generalize your statement
because
like
they're
the
men.
truth, because
The
you think
truth
that you've
is
got the truth.
you are
You
insane
ain't
to
spreading the
believe
truth
this.
here.
You are insane to believe that there is a 65% of the Marvel audience are women.
I
That
said
is
65 to
so
70. I said
that is
65 to 70.
that's
So it
still
might be
so
to the 70s, but I
large.
don't think it goes past like
Just
I don't
because
think
you're
it's up in the
pushing me on this,
80%.
I'm rescinding 70 and saying only 85.
Okay? Let us know in the comments what you guys think.
I'm telling you.
Put in the chat because I know we're live here and we're going to be watching this. We're going to be monitoring the chat. So
Well,
let it.
sometimes we do.
Okay. Well, let us know what you guys think.
I'm
And
telling you 100%,
I agree
85% of the
the
male
Marvel
audience.
movie's not the Marvels is not going to do great, and they released it at a bad time. There is more people that are gonna. There is more audience that's going to be interested in Hunger Games over Marvel right now. So they kind of screwed themselves where they put it in releasing it in theaters. But I guess we're gonna have to. I guess the only saving grace, in my opinion, is if they did what they did with Ant-Man and Wasp and put it in theaters for a little bit and then did an earlier release on Disney Plus, and the Disney Plus audience caught hold of it. But I don't know if that's going to save them.
Okay. I'm trying to find stats.
No. No.
I'm trying to
This
find
is not even
stats.
my first segment. We
Okay.
just fully went. You started pulling up. Why are you hijacking my podcast? Why are you
I'm not.
hijacking my podcast?
I always bring up stuff that in between segments.
Yeah,
Always.
for 30-minute topics.
Okay. All right, so I found something that kind of proves my point. But
No, yeah, okay. Don't you? Oh, let's see what you googled because
well, I'm trying to find
stats
what
that
the
prove women don't watch Marvel
no, I did
doesn't
men
count.
versus women Marvel fans. All right,
Sheesh.
viewership of 2018 by gender. I don't know.
Okay, no,
2018 was that the height.
2018 was a decade ago. It wasn't a decade ago, but it was a long time ago. Marvel back in 2018 was way different than Marvel today. So that's not an accurate reading,
Yes.
regardless what it says. Even if it's in my favor of saying there's more women, I don't accept it because 2018 was freaking like a long time ago.
Okay. This is not true.
It was before COVID. Okay, it's supporting me, isn't it? But I'm still not accepting it because it was a long time ago.
No, this is for 2000. This is some article by The Beat. I don't know what this
Wendy.
says. This is not true.
What is
Market research says, market research, what market research? Do you cite your references here? That
you can't randomly
46% of comic fans are female. Well, what
It's
type of comics are
possible.
we talking about? Are
Yeah,
we
see,
talking
that's
about
general, but I would agree.
anime? Because you
No,
got a
that would
lot of
be
romance
uh,
anime. I
uh,
mean,
that would be
manga?
if you wanna say anime, that would be manga. That would manga and just comic books are not in the same genre. I don't think they would call them comic books. I don't think they consider that comic books. They are,
Okay.
but they call manga.
Why are you blocking? This is blocking me now. I can't even see. Share of adults who consider themselves fans of superhero movies in the United States as February 2019 by gender.
It's
If I
still
refresh
a long
this, will
time
it
ago.
show me? Okay, so
That's still
obviously
really
like
long.
blue is men and black is female. I honestly
I
think it's 85 to 15%. That's what
I
I
think
think.
it's probably a little higher than 40. What they say, 46 or 47%.
46. You're
I
saying it's
think it's a
literally
little
just
higher.
50-50. You think it's just 50-50
No, I never said it was 50-50. You're putting words in my mouth. I said 65 to 70% male versus female. But
with male over.
yeah, male over. But I just think, what was this argument even about? We arguing about the stats at this point.
We're arguing about
Marvel's
why even make the Marvels because it's the biggest failure. And you're right. It's literally, as the director put it, all women beating the crap out of each other.
yeah, but I don't know.
And they also hired a director who she has basically no serious experience because the
Yeah.
last thing she did was The Candyman, which was felt like an indie film. So how are they hiring her for a big budget animated Marvel film? What a wild choice Marvel and Disney have been doing. And yeah, we're going to keep dogging on them. I think we should dog on them every time we get the chance until they turn it around. They used to make movies like Pirates of the Caribbean. Disney did.
And Endgame was good.
It
I'll
was
give it
not it wasn't nearly as good as Infinity War. Endgame was not nearly as good as Infinity War.
Infinity War and that Endgame were back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Infinity
no,
War was a million times better than Endgame, and
no,
Endgame was
no.
supposed to be the big bad film. Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
both equal in my opinion. That's
No.
definitely a generalized statement because they were both really good.
What happens in Endgame? They nerf Hulk, time jump. Tony figures out time travel in literally 3 seconds. Uh they kill. Now it's a good storytelling to kill off Iron Man and to have
Captain
Captain
America
America his
would get
story
us to
fulfilled and
close.
everything, but those
They
are two small moments for legacy characters. What think about everything? They had the weird freaking girl boss moment that was the cringiest thing I've seen in cinema since I
No,
don't
it
know.
wasn't. Okay, they've had a
Yes,
lot of cringy stuff, but that was not the cringiest moment. And
yes, it was.
there was
They
that
literally
last
helped.
fight was amazing, and it was different from what we've seen because it was in space. We haven't seen Marvel in space.
That
Like
last fight wasn't in space. That last fight was on Earth.
you're talking about uh Infinity War. I'm
No,
talking about
end game. The end of Endgame was on Earth.
what are you talking about?
The end of Endgame, I just watched it. It was outside of
We're talking
the
about two
place
different things here. What I'm talking about was not on Earth.
where they had the girl bosses, and Peter's holding the stones, and Captain Marvel picks him up, and he says, "How are you gonna get through all that?" Talking about all the armies and Thanos and everything, and uh, she says something like, or what? A girl pops her head into screen and under the shot and says, "She's got help." And then another one pops up and
Okay.
says,
Well,
"Yeah." And then all the girls assemble like we're supposed to be impressed, but it's actually just the cringiest thing ever. Like
let's
she
put this to
has
bed.
help. And then all of
Let's
a
put
sudden,
this
for
to
some
bed
reason,
because
all the girls are congregating, walking like they're all going to the bathroom together. It was the cringiest thing I've ever seen in cinema, I think.
okay, we're definitely disagreeing on this.
That ruined Endgame.
I
That
want to
ruined
get to my
Endgame
first
alone.
segment. I don't mean to hardcore transition, but I do want to get to something I actually want to talk about,
Okay.
like Avatar.
All right. Avatar, the live action Airbender. The
Yes. So
last
we're gonna
live action.
They only have like a teaser trailer right now, but the teaser trailer showed us a good bit of stuff, and I think I want to click through it a little bit. We do have so Netflix has done some good adaptation, live action adaptation, and then some bad
Yep.
live action adaptation for these anime things. But
These cartoon to live action
live action, yeah,
remakes. Everyone
but
loved One Piece, everyone hated Cowboy Bebop, right?
yeah.
But
But
these are not those creators.
no, this is gonna be different. But I think I'm very optimistic because of One Piece, the last one they did, that everybody really liked it. I didn't watch it, so I can't have a huge opinion on it. But so we got Uncle Iroh, we got
Mhm.
Zuko's character. Scroll back a little bit.
Yep.
Zuko's character.
Yep.
Okay.
And did you like the look of everybody for the most
Yeah, it
part?
doesn't look bad. It doesn't. Maybe because the color grading is very dark. It's kind of Pirates of the Caribbean feel. It no. It
No.
it has that dark feel like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, in a
Um,
dark
okay,
scene, but
this is
not
dumb. Why are you just disagreeing with me on this
because
podcast,
you're
my guy?
calling it Pirates of the Caribbean. This
I'm
does
not
not look
calling it
like
Pirates
Pirates
of
of the
the
Caribbean.
Caribbean. I would say the color grading.
Okay, the night scenes, yeah, is lit in such a way that can be reminiscent of Pirates of the Caribbean,
You
but
didn't
it can
even let me
also be
finish my
reminiscent.
statement, guy.
Guy,
My guy.
guy. Look, this feels interesting. That all the makeup and everything looks like the cartoon. It all looks like it. But as we said, what 2 years ago or a year ago,
Yeah.
the original creators backed out of this. They didn't want to be a part. So we have to
Well,
ask if you're what makes you optimistic about this? Let me ask you that.
that Netflix has been doing some good adaptation has been doing okay adaptations that people really like. I also what I was saying with the color grading, it makes it so it doesn't feel as clean as it could be. And that was a big thing that I've always brought up. Like most things that Netflix do these days, they feel too clean with their costumes and everything. But the color grading, the darkness of it makes it feel not as bad. It does still feel a little clean with their stuff, but it doesn't feel as bad.
Well, it's going to be kind of a 50-50 split because this is very bright colors and clean. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like a lot of this stuff, like this feels very this. I don't know. There's some parts that feel good and some parts that kind of feel like we're looking like honestly this
Oh,
kind
I like
of
that shot.
well this is reminiscent of like the Wheel of Time,
Mm.
that Amazon Prime is doing
Wait,
and
go scroll back to that fire thing right there.
right there.
Okay. Yeah, that moment. Just play it.
Whoosh.
That's cool. That's cool. I wanna see a lot of that, and I think we will see a lot of that.
Just
That's way better.
ninja chop.
Just that in itself is is 300% better than anything M. Night did.
We're doing a lot
That
of
right there.
percentages in this episode. A lot of
Well, M.
percentages.
Night needs to get his percentages right because M. Night messed up Avatar. And this is, can we just name this segment the Savior or to fix? This is
We can't predict anything like that because we don't know if this is good
this
yet. It's a
this
good
show is
trailer.
made to fix M. Night Shyamalan's mistakes.
Mashamalans. I don't know if it
Mashamalama.
is. I don't know if it is because remember there's been a lot of stuff out that has
It
evidence
could
to
be
the
bad.
opposite.
It
It
could be
has
bad, but it
evidence
also could be good.
that they're completely changing the story. Now,
What do you think
from
about
this
that? Okay.
trailer,
Is
look,
it,
from this
so in M. Night's version, it wasn't even like a full arrow. It was like designs to create an arrow, which kind of was weird.
yeah, I mean they're definitely making visual creative choices that are good. But if we're being honest, the only thing that this trailer shows us is the visual nature of the show, and for the most part, we're
And
happy
it's
with the way
true.
it looks.
It's true, but I think
And
this
the
trailer
thing
has
it
gotten
look,
hype. I will definitely be tuning in
I
to
think
go
the real
see some
skill.
bending.
Okay, I think the real skill right now in Hollywood are visual artists, cinematographers, color graders, animators. I think that's where the real skill is in Hollywood. So you can have an awesome trailer that looks incredible, but that's just because for certain scenes or episodes, you have some really creative people that made something look really good. Does the story hold up? Is the question. And you do not know that until the show comes out.
I don't, but with even the shot of him doing fire bending, which we don't see a lot of fire bending. We
see
don't see a
some
lot
of
of
it.
bending in this trailer in general, but
Look,
it looks
this
good.
this is okay. I don't mean to rant, but this has got to be something that we start distinguishing from, okay? We can't a huge chunk of the audience, especially in the reaction realm, both creators and audience members judge stuff by how they look or like the nostalgia button that they press. I cannot believe how much of the internet thinks Ahsoka is perfection. And I'm not getting on, that's just the example. I cannot believe how many people freaked out over that episode with Ahsoka and Hayden Christensen and just completely ignored everything, like the majority of the show, which is terrible. So if you are if you're judging it based on how it looks or who shows up or what's happening in a specific moment, like to be fair, it looks awesome to firebend, but if that's what your judgment is because it looks so cool when Zuko does a quarter flip kick and he shoots fire out of his feet, if that's your judgment based on the show, you're wrong. That's nowhere it should be. It should be like what's happening
Okay, this is
from
coming
act
from
to act and
I would
how does that
somewhat
motivate the
agree.
characters?
I would somewhat agree, but I think this is coming from a guy who watched the show one time because we had
I'm
to
not
push him
I'm
for months
this
upon
is why
months
I
to watch it.
this is why I said this is why I use Ahsoka as an example because this happens for everything. This is happening for literally
It does,
everything. It's not
but
just
we can't
this.
judge it on anything but looks in this trailer because we did
But
not
that's
get
why they give
anything
us
but
only
trailers.
looks. I mean, that Shogun, I'm predicting Shogun's going to be pretty cool. But I am kind of pissed at the trailer because they told us nothing. With a trailer, gone are the days where a trailer told a story. You know what I mean? Now it's just a
Mm,
montage of fun looking camera shots and animation. That's all that this is these days, with a few sound bites that are taken out of context. I'm sorry, that's not a trailer. That is a show reel of your film. And
maybe.
it's true. Trailers used to tell a story. Go back and look at the Pirates of the Caribbean trailers of Dead Men's Chest. That told a freaking story without giving away the film. I'm
Maybe.
telling you, these trailers don't tell stories anymore. And we need stories so we can sample the series or the film, and they're not telling us a story. They're showing us a bunch of moments that we might recognize or we might not. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And we can't. The
I
stuff
am
looks
predicting
awesome.
this is
Look,
gonna be
this looks
good. I'm
awesome.
predicting it's gonna be good.
But that's why they give us it's the best foot forward. It's supposed to look awesome. And then past that, there's because they know, even if their story's weak sauce, even if the story or the characters are dull or boring or they cross their arms a lot and look at each other. You know what I'm saying? If that's the case, people are still going to freak out because the fire bending was so freaking cool, you know? And I'm not digging on
That
you. I'm just
looks
saying
good. That
that's how the approach of most people are.
okay,
And it's
but
messed
it
up. We
looks
shouldn't be
good.
thinking of it that way.
That
This is
all we're
cool.
basing this trailer
Look at
on
this.
is this visual trailer though.
This is pretty cool. Did you see that? So
Yeah.
like they put the little piece of paper up on the wall. Kind of looks like Aang from the cartoon series. You know what I'm saying? This drawing.
Mm,
That's kind of reminiscent. It's kind of cool. I did in the previous episode express a concern with the seriousness of Aang
yeah,
constantly.
yeah.
And I was looking in here, I was like looking kind of serious, kind of like, ugh.
But the
And
next
then
shot
this
is not.
moment happened. And then we get this awesome classic Aang kind of joy that's
Yeah.
coming out of his face. So that made me feel good about that. It kind of put that concern to rest somewhat. Um, so yeah, I think it looks awesome. I don't. I don't think we're gonna have a lack of coolness visually. I'm worried. I want to know why the other creators had
You're
creative
just
differences. That's
a
what I
hater.
needed to know. I'm not a hater. I'm a
You be
skeptic.
a
I'm a
hating.
skeptic until I'm proven wrong because they're outside of Chris Nolan, outside of a very few creators, I am always going to be skeptical. I'm sorry.
Grandpa Joe is just a hater.
I'm not a hater. I'm coming from a place of experience.
Mm,
Experience. And I'm
mm.
not on the bandwagon of just loving something for the sake of loving it. I'm not going to do that. And I don't think it's healthy to do that because then eventually it turns into the Hollywood we have and South Park is making fun of you. You know what I mean?
Well, South Park ain't gonna be making fun of this show.
Probably not this show, but maybe Netflix. Oh, I'm sure they've already made fun of Netflix. 100%. How can you not? Look, I
Netflix
think
do be doing some things.
this is gonna be all right, probably. But I'm not just gonna be like, what a sick trailer. So freaking excited, you know? Get my hacky sack out. You think people still do hacky sacks?
Definitely not.
That
Definitely
we
not.
need to bring back the hacky sack, I
No,
feel
I
like.
don't got time to hacky.
I never learned it, which means I think I need to bring it back. I'm
Uh,
curious. I'm interested. And too
um,
many people missed out on the hacky sack. I mean, why pick up TikTok and do dances when you can hacky sack with your
when you
friends?
could be doing the sack, I
Mm-hmm.
just look up hacky sack on TikTok. It has to be a thing.
Think
It's gotta be
hacky?
a thing.
You think a sack is on Hackian is on TikTok? You think?
Hacky. You're just gonna have a guy coughing because he's hacking up a lung.
Look up hashtag hacky. Tell me what
Hack.
you find. Do you
Yeah.
hold on? You're on TikTok. I haven't even approached the platform. Do you use
So I
hashtags on TikTok?
yeah.
So does it operate off hashtags or does it operate off suggestions? How do most people find what they view? Is it suggested algorithm or is it searching hashtags? How does it operate?
Probably a little bit of both, but mostly algorithm based. Um, uh,
Suggestions.
Suggestions for things you're interested in. If you start watching a lot of food videos, it's going to give you a lot of food videos, regardless of the hashtags. But you could look up hashtag hacky, and if there's hacky out there, then you get that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think what's another thing that those longboarding? Are people still doing
Yeah.
longboarding?
Yeah, I think people are still doing longboarding. There's
Hacky sacks and longboarding were
no,
the same time.
no,
Yeah.
I 100% disagree.
It
Hacky
was
was
right around the time that
no,
dudes stopped wearing bootcut jeans and started wearing skinny
Hacky
jeans.
was around in the 90s and maybe even before that. The board was early 2000s into like 2010. And
Yeah.
then it graduated into the electric skateboard and one wheel. So
Yeah.
the board continued, but the
This is
hacky
what I
kind of
think.
died off.
So the dudes who the people who literally roll, do you think that that the shift from the glider mobiles or whatever
Mhm.
were just people who were really into Heelys? Do you think that was the
Oh, you mean like the hoverboard?
Yeah. Do you think the weirdos that use hoverboards were just people that were really into Heelys and now Heelys are socially unacceptable?
I don't think they're the same people. If
The
if
interest
'cause it's two
crossover for
I
sure.
think no, yeah, they did cross over. They were 2 different generations in my opinion. Like, the Heelys were my generation, and the hoverboard was the generation after Heelys that replaced Heelys. If they were during the same time, then yes, they would be a huge crossover of the same people, but I think one died off and one came up, and they were the same group of people, but just
Mm.
2 different generations, if that makes sense. You wanna thank the patron?
Yes. Thank you,
So
Cynthia.
thank you, Cynthia, for being a Patreon supporter. Last week we released the watch party for Secondhand Lions, a
Yep.
kind of tribute to Michael Caine
Yep.
as he's kind of going into retirement. So that was fun. Me and Wyatt did that. And we have
Mm-hmm.
watch parties over there. So if you're interested in something like that, go check out Patreon. You also get this podcast on Monday rather than Friday. So almost a whole week early. You get
Right.
exclusive content that's over there. So if you're interested, go check that out. But thank you, Cynthia, for being a Patreon supporter.
Thank you. We love you.
Mhm.
So the next segment
Yep.
is about a game a game into movie, correct? We have discussed this in the past, haven't we?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think we might have touched on it of, hey, this might be a thing that's going on. But I have an article actually this week that
Is
came
that Tom
up.
Holland as Zelda?
Yeah, yeah. So this is a fan made thing. This is not
Link,
real.
not Zelda,
Yeah,
Link.
yeah, Link. This is a fan made thing. It has not been confirmed Tom Holland is going to play that character. But so I have this article that Rotten Tomatoes did. It says, in a surprise announcement, Nintendo legend Miyamoto revealed today that the story video game company is officially developing a live action adaptation of their popular franchise, The Legend of Zelda. So
Mm-hmm.
Miyamoto, who created Mario, Donkey Kong, The Legend of Zelda, posted on X that has been in the works,
Working
the
on the
film.
film, man.
Yeah. So he posted this week on X, Twitter, that it is officially in the works right now. And
Yeah.
there's kind of been some I guess people are kind of talking right now because it's kind of a there's kind of been this question because the
What
last
question?
video game thing, okay, the last video game thing, Super Mario Brothers, was a huge success that came out this year. And that was done by
Nintendo. Illumination.
Nintendo. Yes, but specifically the studio that did it. Um,
Illumination.
Illumination, yes, yes. And everybody keeps saying, why are they not the ones who are going to be doing this if it was such a success? Why did they sell it? They're selling it to Sony. So there's
Super
kind of
easy.
been
Easy answer. It's live action.
well, no,
It's
I don't think
probably
it's
going to be a
Illumination.
ton of animation, but wouldn't it be a live action? Or are we talking about an
Sony
animated Zelda
includes that
movie?
Sony will. Okay, here we go. This is the information I need. So Sony will co-franchise the film in developments with Miyamoto, the official release with Nintendo. So Nintendo and Sony are doing the film.
Okay.
And that's
So
kind of what people are talking about right now.
so check this out.
Mm-hmm.
On this same page,
Yes.
it says a live action Zelda, Legend of Zelda movie in the works at Nintendo and
Yep.
Sony. So it is live action.
Mm-hmm.
Illumination does not do live action movies. They are an animation studio. So why would Illumination do it? It clearly needs to be sold to Sony, who
It's
does
not Illumination.
both
Different.
animation. What are you talking about? What are people asking? Why doesn't Illumination do it? That's what you said, right?
No, maybe. I no. I just forget what I was saying about the
What
because
people are
I'm
asking
confused.
about?
No.
It's Nintendo. Nintendo owns the IP. That's why they partnered with
Yes. So
Illumination to create Mario. So if they're partnering with Sony, they're doing a live action of Zelda. So now we're talking, they're partnering with the best studio because they're the owners. Sony doesn't own Zelda. So do you think it's likely that Tom Holland gets played as Link or acts as Link, you know?
it's possible. I mean, Tom Holland can do whatever he wants these days because he's such a big name. Will they pick him for it? I don't know. I've saw a couple things, like insane things on the internet, like Machine Gun Kelly wants to play Link. That ain't
Ugh,
happening.
that would
That
be the
better not
worst
happen.
thing to ever happen.
I think that might have just been more of a clickbait article, but
Yeah,
he, we all know that Machine Gun Kelly has dabbled in like acting,
he
and he's
sucks
never
at
been
acting.
great. He's never been great. If
He's a
they
terrible
do that,
actor.
that would ruin this movie, and I think it would ruin the video game
They
because
wouldn't they wouldn't get Machine
it
Gun
would be
Kelly.
so
That
bad.
anybody with half a brain would know that's the wrong choice. You have to
Well,
have a real
he's a
actor.
name. I will say this. It would make me curious if he did it, only because
No,
I'm curious how bad it is.
that would be as ridiculous as saying we should get Pete Davidson to play in the new Ridley Scott Napoleon movie. He's not
Although, I
short,
don't
and
know.
he's also just a goofy actor. He's not a serious actor. That's
I'm
that's that's that's
no,
the
that's
likelihood of this.
no, that's not the same likelihood because Machine Gun Kelly fits more of the character as of Link than
Why are we even talking about this? That's the
because it's
most
the thing
crazy thing ever.
that's just been spitting at the internet around the internet.
No one's going to take that seriously.
I don't
Tom
think
Holland
so.
would do it in an instant if they would. I choose to believe that if they were thinking about casting MGK,
Yeah.
Tom Holland would come in and offer himself as
No.
tribute, so
You
that they
think?
don't. That's what I choose to believe about Tom Holland. That he's good enough as a person to not let something like that happen. I think it would be an interesting casting. He would definitely sell the movie, and I think that's what's important here because people like, I mean, who all sold it? I mean, really, Chris Pratt sold Mario. I know Mario's an IP that was going to get views either way, but I think Chris Pratt's passion for the movie, and then once you saw the movie, Jack Black's performance really stood out when it came to Mario. So
Yeah.
really, I mean, Jack Black is what got people to come back or to go see it if they hadn't watched the opening weekend. And Chris Pratt
Jack
really
Black
hard. His Chris Pratt's passion for the IP is what got people confident in his ability
to
and
play. Yeah.
to play
But
Mario.
also, like, Chris Pratt has a I'm not saying Tom Holland doesn't have a passion to do specific things, and he could do it, but I think Chris Pratt has this almost, fun-loving guy
Tom Holland 100% has
behind
the
him.
fun-loving energy.
I think
100%.
Chris Pratt
He's
has a
tapped into
little more
something
of that
similar.
though.
No, put Tom Holland in front of a camera and he's got that excited childish twinkle in his eye, that energy that really really makes people believe that he cares and that he's look, I mean, that's why we accepted him so hard as Spider-Man because he's got that excitement behind him. And and
Yeah,
and we're good with it. And if all even if he's not like doesn't have like a huge history playing the Zelda games. Even if he wasn't, into it, he can make himself into it and he can become passionate about this and really show that to the audience so that they can trust that he's the right choice for something like this. Um, I believe he can do that. He's got that. He's tapped into something, a similar vein of what Chris Pratt is. It's a similar vein as far as respect for the characters, I feel like,
yeah. I just think they might do it. We the past couple years, the past 3 years, we have come to realize that some of these studios are giving what the fans what they want and doing the kind of the fun thing of throwing this actor in a movie. They're doing that. So are they going to try to do that with Link? I don't know.
Well, they didn't completely do this because
You know who I
they
want to see play
they
this character?
who
I'm trying to look up his name. He was in Maze
well in
Runner.
The Last of Us, which was a game to series adaptation, the audience had already picked who they wanted to cast for it, and they didn't go with
Mm-hmm.
either option, right? So
What was
they're
that?
not
The Last
not
of Us?
The Last of Us. Yeah, the audience wanted an actor for Joel and Ellie. Specific actors. I can't remember the girl they wanted for Ellie, but the guy they wanted for Joel was the guy who plays Jaime Lannister on Game of Thrones. That's who the fans wanted for Joel, and they did not choose him. They
I
went with
want
Pedro Pascal, which was not a bad choice. He's a good actor, but he's not who that character. He's not the envisionment of that character from the original games, right? So they didn't go with the fan choice there,
No, they
and so,
didn't.
and that's a game to movie or game to series adaptation. So with this, it's like they're doing that sometimes, but not all the time.
No, not all the time. And Illumination is not known for that, but Sony is known for that with giving us a lot of Spider-Man stuff. Who I want to see play Link, and he's actually coming out with some soon, is Thomas Brody Sagster. This gentleman. I don't know if you can see that.
No, I can't see that. Let me just look him up.
He was Thomas Brody. If you type in Thomas Brody, he'll come up.
Yes.
He was in The Maze Runner. He was in
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he was in Game of Thrones. I forgot he was in Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Love Actually.
Yeah, I think he would play a good Link. Don't you agree?
He could do it, definitely. He's definitely a skilled actor. He can pull it off. I think he's not as well known, and they're gonna want to really put a big
A
face
well-known?
behind Link if they can. I think if you're talking about if they can work it out, you got someone like Tom Holland who's going to be the more likely candidate because they need to
Yeah.
sell. They need to sell it. They have to sell it, and that's a big thing that even indie films, like, it's all about who are the stars, because the stars from the beginning of Hollywood and movie making are really what sells a film. I mean, I really don't think Pirates of the Caribbean 1 would have been as big of a success if everyone did
Wasn't
not
for
latch
Johnny?
on to Johnny. Yeah. And
Johnny and Orlando. Orlando and Karen.
no,
Orlando was on the scene because of Lord of the Rings, but this was like the second thing he did.
you are 100%. There's nobody who they enjoyed Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley's characters, but there was nobody that was going to invest hundreds of $1 million into multiple movies for just their characters. It was the guy who sold it. It was Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow, because
Yeah, but you
that
have
was
to at
him
least give a
through
little
and through.
credit to them too.
I don't have to, because
You
they weren't
do.
the ones who sold it. They didn't sell. I'm sorry. The love story between Orlando Bloom's Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann is not the reason Pirates of the Caribbean continued. It was because we, as an audience, we demanded
But
more Jack
no,
Sparrow. We demanded it.
Jack Sparrow is a fun person on screen, but
We
Jack Sparrow has
demanded it.
no character development.
Your
You have
takes
to.
are so wild today.
Jack Sparrow is a beloved character, but his character development, and we all want to see him become the captain of the Black Pearl and get the Black Pearl back, but he's always in the pursuit for the Black Pearl. He has no character development in he falls in love with
Incorrect.
the woman. Okay, what character development does Jack Sparrow have?
The whole thing, his search for freedom, there's a lot of ups and downs, okay?
No, there's
Not
ups
only
and downs. There's ups and downs, but there's
that's the
no
whole
like.
point of it. His motivation's clear. He wants freedom. The Black Pearl represents freedom, okay?
Okay, yes, he wants freedom, but he's chasing freedom the whole time. Yes,
No, he's not.
he gets
He's also
marooned on the island, and that's a down. But like, he still is in pursuit of freedom. He doesn't have like this. Oh, let
survival,
me.
sacrifice, coming to grips with himself that
Okay,
he doesn't need to be the bad man that he always has been in a lot of situations, that he can come back and rescue the crew and go be the captain who goes down with the ship, even if it was a little bit against his will. You know what I mean? He can be that captain.
I don't think he made that choice though, and it was proven by
He was off the
Elizabeth
ship.
didn't. Elizabeth did not believe that he would make that decision, and so she had to handcuff him to the ship.
No, he came back. She
But
handcuffed him to the ship because
he was still going to leave.
she said that as long as he's around, the Kraken will not stop coming after us.
I think
So
Orlando
Davy
Bloom
Jones
and
wants
Keira
him,
Knightley
not
had a
us.
better story
You are
line than Jack Sparrow. Jack Sparrow's fun, and he's a fun character, but that's all he is.
I promise you, we would not have received any more of Pirates of the Caribbean if it was just Will and Elizabeth and Barbossa and all them.
Well, then why are they trying to
Incredible characters. But
why
no
are
one
they trying
touches
to
Jack
make
Sparrow.
a Pirates of the Caribbean without Johnny right now? Why are they trying to do make a deal with Margot Robbie?
They're not. Margot Robbie already said she's not.
Well, she
It's
said
not
that,
happening. It's
she
not happening.
be just saying things. You know, she's
Everybody
a
in
blonde.
Hollywood knows that Pirates of the Caribbean doesn't exist without Johnny Depp. Everybody knows it.
That's not 100% true.
No one's going to watch it. No one is
Maybe.
going to watch it. Even the past two movies, Stranger Tides and Dead Man Tell No Tales, the crappiest movies ever. Everyone still watched it because of Johnny Depp. You made two stupid, crappy movies, and people still gave you money and watched it because you got Johnny Depp.
I am going to agree with you
crap.
and say yes, people did go watch it because of Johnny Depp and Jack Sparrow. Yes, but that doesn't change the fact that he is in pursuit for freedom, pursuit for the Black Pearl the whole time, and he never has he doesn't have any character development outside of that. And so you have to agree with that.
No, I can't. I do not have to agree with that. That is a wild suggestion. Every movie he has character development. And it's not just the pursuit of freedom is the motivation, but the character development is diverse. Remember? He chooses to completely throw out the rule book because he believes that not only is it important that someone with similar ideas like Elizabeth Swann becomes Pirate King, but it's the only way for survival. Think about this. He wanted to become the immortal Davy Jones. What does he do?
He realized that was not the life to live.
No, he was going to stab the heart. He gave it to Will so that he doesn't die.
Okay. In that moment, yes, he did.
No, he's done this every movie.
Yes.
Every movie he has development. You're just wild and saying things that you don't understand or haven't analyzed.
I'm just pushing the buttons of a character that you have loved for years upon years, and you will not accept that there is some flaws with the character Jack Sparrow.
There aren't. In Strange
there's no
Tides
flaws.
and Dead Man Tell No Tales, there are flaws. But that's in the writing. In the first three movies,
it's in the writing, not with the character.
No flaws in the first three movies that were directed by Gore Verbinski. None. Then you go and change it and try to make a woman first. Dead Man Tell No Tales.
Some wild things.
No, I'm not. I'm not. Let's move on.
Yeah. Okay. Really quickly, I'm excited for this. I never really played the game Legend of Zelda, but I still love Nintendo. I love Mario. I love Donkey Kong. I love Miyamoto. He has created some great things. And so I'm only going to see, and I hope Sony does not ruin something that's beloved. That's all I have to say.
I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either.
They might. I don't know.
But it's just don't ruin something that people grew up playing and have a nostalgic thing to it because they want to just tap into that to get more money. That's all I'm making.
It's hard to ruin this.
My thing to Sony.
Well, it's hard to ruin this. There's a lot of story plots from the game that you can dig into. There's established characters, so all you got to do is really lean into those. And then what else? On top of that, you it's going to be meant for kids, first of all. So you can't go super dark with it. You have to keep it kind of um, surface level. You have to keep it kind of actiony adventure kind of thing. Kind of like a mild Uncharted that Tom Holland was in. We need
Yeah.
something that's
Yeah.
just actiony and kind of ridiculous at times, but ultimately can be. Ultimately, that's just an action adventure that people can latch on to with their families. You know what I mean? That's all you got to do. And
Yeah.
it's hard to mess that up unless you bring in a bunch of wacky ideas and you try to change a bunch of stuff. That's the only way to ruin this. And it's like easy money if you don't do that. You know?
It's as long as Nintendo is doing it 50-50 with Sony, which that's what they're doing as of now, then everything should be good and everything should be a fun film for people to enjoy with the family and with the kids.
Sure. Huh.
A little, passing of generation, because I feel like there's a lot of dads out there, our age, dads that are
You're a
like,
dad?
no,
You
but
haven't
you're a
told me?
dad. I said our
Okay.
age, in their 20s, that they grew up playing Legend of Zelda, and they're like, hey kids, hey, you want to go watch this movie about a game I played when I was a kid, and we can kind of, enjoy this together, and they can
Bond, and
have,
I'm just gonna nudge you and tell you details about the game, the whole movie.
yeah, do you not want to, like, have that beautiful moment with your kid?
Sure, but she's gonna be still pretty young when
Well,
this movie
but
comes out.
you also
I didn't play
didn't play,
Zelda.
but, like, there's got to be some dads our age that are doing that.
Our age, try a little
Okay,
older,
maybe a
like
little older.
mid
Well, you're pretty
thirties,
old,
probably.
your Grandpa Joe and everything.
Mid 30s, they probably played Zelda, right?
Yeah.
Definitely tapped into it some. Mid 30s, happy dads,
Hmm.
and if they had kids mid 20s, and they could have like a 9-year-old son that they could poke, and who could appreciate it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the kind of range. But honestly, the more niche we get with it, the less there are. What are you trying to tap into with this?
I don't know. I'm just saying, I just want a beautiful moment between a father and his son because of Sony and Nintendo. I don't
Are
know.
you hoping this is filmed so you can see it? Because you're
I
not going
don't
to
know where I'm getting at
experience this.
here.
You're not going to be the one
No, I'm not
experiencing
going to
that beautiful
experience it at
moment.
all. I'm just saying, Nintendo, that's what I hope you can get out of
Just
this.
generally in the ether,
Yeah, yeah.
you just want fathers and sons to be enjoying this together.
That's what I'm going to imagine when I think of this movie.
So the ideal audience is not women gamers. No, just the
There might be
dads and
some.
their
There
sons.
might be
No,
some,
don't
but
go back on it now. You already said it. Your
no,
hope is that dads and
I
sons,
never said it.
primarily just men and boys,
Well,
have a great time at this movie.
as we know, people who play Legend of Zelda is definitely like 70% to 30% men versus female.
70% to 30, whatever, dude. Whatever, man.
70% of men played Legend of Zelda compared to the 30% that were women.
Who do you think was the best female Marvel character ever?
Well, we're going back to this.
Just curious.
I don't know. Okay,
Probably Black Widow.
I might get a little hate for this because she's not a superhero.
Black Widow.
Okay, I specifically have to pick a superhero because I have an answer for you, but she's not a superhero.
We'll say it.
I really liked Kristen Dunst's MJ from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. I
That's
think she
not a
was.
Marvel universe that we're talking about.
Is she? No, they're in the Marvel universe. You said Marvel character. That's in the universe.
Marvel superhero. Let's
Okay,
try that.
specifically a superhero.
Or just a hero, because Black Widow is mine and she's a hero, but not super.
Yeah, I do like Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow. She was probably the better, specifically Iron Man 2, I think.
Really good.
Was Yeah, specifically Iron Man 2 before it felt like they almost made this switch with her character and tried to make her a little bit different. But um oh wait, no.
No. Who are you thinking?
I like Gamora. I like Zoe what's
Zoe
her name?
Kravitz.
Yeah,
It
as
was Zoe
Gamora.
Saldana.
Saldana as um Gamora. I
Gamora.
like her character probably better actually.
I guess she's kind of a hero.
Yeah, no, she definitely fits in that vein.
She's an
I
alien who's got skills.
I think she's I like her character actually better because I do like the Guardians.
Interesting enough, she also plays a alien who has skills in Avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's good at the alien with skills.
She
Shit.
definitely has kind of right place, right time of getting these big films. You know, she was in she played Gamora in no. She played the translator in Star Trek. I can't think
Mhm.
of her name. Um she played in Avatar. She played in Marvel. She played in a bunch of stuff. She's been in the right place at the right time, it seems like, and just gotten some good opportunities.
Yeah, and she's 45 now, so pretty much like her mid 30s to 40s, I feel like have been the highlight
Yeah.
of her career. Because mid
Yeah.
30s, she was hitting Avatar 1, you know?
Mhm.
Um,
And she's still
then
got a couple
then
avatars under.
the past decade, she just has had some of the biggest hits. She was in Pirates 1. Do you remember her in Pirates 1?
Yeah, she was the lady that's like, "Where's my boat? I
Right,
have a boat."
Slapjack.
That's your boat.
Yeah.
That's not her boat.
Yeah, no one knew when she was in
Yeah,
the Pirates that she
nobody
was
knew
gonna
her
be one of
then.
the biggest
Yeah.
movie stars of the 20 teens and early 2000s, right?
Mhm.
22,000s.
So
So,
she's had some good opportunities.
definitely she's been around, but she's taken off the past decade for sure. Had some really big hits. Um, let's hit our last topic to fulfill our promises.
Okay.
Highlander. So
Highlander. So,
Highlander's got some news. What's going on here?
um, I'll read this, but really it's just the one thing. And you've not seen Highlander. You've not quite dipped your toes into that yet.
When I,
But
at the beginning, when I was saying you're gonna be a huge fan of Highlander, I was also talking about myself. I was also saying
yes,
I'm a huge fan of Highlander and don't know it yet.
yeah. So for everybody that doesn't know, because let's do some recap. We talked about this several weeks ago, but one of the big things, they are doing a remake of the Highlander movie, and it is going to be
Mhm.
primarily, they're going to take things from the movie, they're going to take things from the show, and it is going to be spearheaded by Henry Cavill as the main Highlander character. Um,
Mhm.
and this week, the director so Chad,
Chad, what's his first
Chad
name?
Stahelski, I think is how you pronounce his name.
Stakalski? Where is his name at?
Stahelski. It's the first line of this
Right
article.
here.
Yep, you see it?
Um, yeah, Stakelski. You're probably right.
Yeah, I think that's right. The
Can I
director.
read this?
Yeah, go ahead. Well, you
Wait,
just
where
have
are
to
you
read up
reading the
to the.
first paragraph?
You don't
This.
have to read the whole thing, just like the first two or three
All right.
sentences.
While those familiar with the original Highlander movie and its soundtrack will likely celebrate Stokowski's enthusiasm confirmation of his own use of Queen's songs, his comments do raise questions about exactly how they might feature in the reboot. Um, the director's caveat that Queen's music will return in an entirely unexpected way suggests that audiences may not end up hearing the original versions of the songs, but will instead encounter them in a different form altogether. So we're talking about DJs getting their fingers all up on
Mm, maybe,
the Queen
maybe.
music.
So people who haven't seen the movie, to kind of the Queen.
Right.
Why did I say it like that? Queen, the band, spearheaded the music, the soundtrack for the movie Highlander back in the 80s. I don't know
Mhm.
why they decided that. They just decided to do that. And so
Because
it
it was
kind of
the
has this,
'80s, bro.
it,
Why
yeah,
not?
but a band like Queen primarily never,
Why not?
they don't
This is
do
a crazy
film.
story, Highlander. It's a crazy story of immortals fighting each other.
Yeah, it is, but
So make it epic. Lightning bolts and Queen
and
playing in the
yeah,
background.
80s rock.
Yeah.
But
Get
they did
after
the
it.
soundtrack for it, and it looks like he's saying they're going to bring some of that back. How are they going to bring it back? We don't know, but
DJs are gonna get their hands all over
that's
it.
what you
That's
think.
100%. And I think audiences that like the first Highlander and love hearing
Mhm.
Queen, they're not gonna be happy with that. This is the thing. The director
No, no,
of the Marvels said the
I
same thing. Every director says if they're doing a remake or they're doing something that's similar, but they always say this is something you've never seen before, or we're doing
so
something
I'm not
different.
going to be. I might go back on my Airbender, my Avatar stuff. It might be bad. I don't know. We can't predict at this point. But I am more optimistic for this because of Henry Cavill and because of his choices in the past of leaving the Witcher series, because he said it was not authentic to the the Witcher story. And he said
Mhm.
we know Henry Cavill is very passionate, and he is ultimately a nerd down to his core, and so he will do what's best for the character, and he will do best for the story, and he will make a good recreation of this movie. So I think I'm gonna say it's gonna be good because of Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill, unless the studio just really screws him over, I
Mhm.
think he's going to do the best he can to make it more super authentic and super um it will bring a good light to the story of Highlander.
So, do you think Queen though is the creators going to respect Queen? Because now,
Yeah,
not only are
I
we
think
respecting
so.
Highlander, the
Yeah.
movie, we also need to respect the music because there's a huge. Okay, think about this.
Mhm.
Queen fans who aren't even movie fans love this movie because of Queen. Are those people
Probably.
going to be satisfied with this movie, this remake?
I don't know. It depends on how they do it and
The
what's
article
the
already says people are concerned because if you talk about screwing with Queen at all,
yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot
that's
right
a
there.
lot. That's not going to be received well. And I'm sorry, even if you do like, hey, we need to, even if like a really, like a composer or someone's like, hey, maybe we need, or producers, like, maybe we should clean up the recordings a little bit. We can, keep the original vocals, keep some of the original uh, tracks from the instruments, the drums, the guitars, but like maybe the piano. Let's recreate, however, the let's clean up the audio. Let's make it less 80s sounding as far as the recording quality, and
Mhm.
let's really get a handle on this. Let's remaster it, if you will. Will that even be received well? Because we're still hipster when it comes to music. I mean,
Maybe.
people are literally like vinyls sound better.
I don't
When
know.
I can tell you for a fact they don't. They sound like they're being played out of a old machine. It is
But
a fun sound. It sounds nice and has a nostalgic vintage vibe to it. But I'm telling you, the quality of music is not as good as what we have today in the digital realm, where we can get things down to it's perfect. It's perfect, the mixing and the cleaning that we can do with today's, and it sounds exactly how it's supposed to. Vinyls don't sound that way, but people are so on board with the imperfections in the music realm, right?
I don't know. I agree. There's gonna be a touch and go here, and we gotta see what the fans think. But this is a little bit different. But go back to when the first Hobbit movie came out, and they're like, we're gonna throw some Ed Sheeran on this thing. We're gonna have Ed Sheeran singing, about
Sort of
fires
different.
and dragons, and everybody's like, I feel it. I'm really liking this Ed Sheeran singing about
But
dragons.
guess what? In the Battle of the Five Armies, they threw Billy Boyd back in there
Yeah,
to sing the theme for that film. So
yeah.
they didn't lose their soul. And honestly,
Well,
Peter
they
Jackson's daughter hand selected Ed Sheeran, and Ed Sheeran's he's a fan of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. But
He
you don't know,
captured the heart.
Henry Cavill's a fan of Highlander, so maybe he's gonna capture the heart of Highlander.
But Ed Sheeran wasn't playing Bilbo.
But Henry Cavill's playing McClintock, or the guy. I think that's his
Yeah,
name.
but also Henry Cavill's not making the decisions based on what the music for
Well,
Queen
Henry
is going to
Cavill is a
desire.
very attractive looking guy. I don't know how this brings into the argument, but
So you just end the argument with Henry Cavill's very attractive.
yeah, that's how you end every argument.
Dang it, that's such a dumb way to look at it, but okay.
You accept it.
Um, no, I don't. I don't accept it, but
No, we
I
just
know based on this argument,
it's
we are
still
not gonna
early.
agree.
Yeah, but you also have not seen Highlander. So, what are
My
you arguing
prediction
based on?
my
What are you
prediction,
based
the
on?
film lovers are gonna enjoy it like yourself. The music
Mhm.
lovers are gonna hate it. The people that like Highlander just for the Queen vibe, the
Well,
'80s Queen vibe of the film, they're gonna not like it. The people who are just film fans, who enjoy the movie and enjoy the fact that they included Queen, are gonna like the way that they include Queen in this new one. But the music fans that like the
well,
movie for the music is not gonna be a fan of this
Highlander,
new one.
it's kind of funny you bring this up because this is a whole other thing. But Highlander has divided people since the beginning of this of them doing Highlander because it is very Scottish heritage, Highland Highlander thing, but they threw Queen in there, and so that kind of divided people. Where like hardcore, like people who are Scottish didn't like the film because they're like
Yeah, they
throwing.
needed it to be Braveheart, right?
Yeah, they wanted it to be more like Braveheart, and throwing Queen in there made it cheesy, and they said it did a disservice to their culture. But
That was the '80s, bro.
that
Everyone was
was that
getting
was the
hit with it.
'80s, and then everybody else who didn't think that it was a disservice loved the film, and so it's kind of been dividing people from the beginning. And I mean, I guess they just got to do their best to not divide people, but you can't please everybody. You
Look,
can't
if
please
you just
everybody.
look at the concept of the story of Highlander, someone who hasn't seen it but knows the idea around the film, it feels like an '80s rock band music video. Like the
Yeah, it
story you
does.
would tell
It
for a
does.
music video for a Queen soundtrack. Like I can imagine Queen in a smoky room, them cutting between Highlander and Queen on the piano,
Yeah,
or just doing his dances with his wife beater on, his white one, Freddie Mercury. That's what I
yeah.
think. I think
I think we
it, I,
definitely have to do a watch party on this soon.
it's a crazy concept. It's a crazy
It's a crazy
concept.
concept, but it
So
is fun.
you tell a crazy story, and it doesn't need to be all about William Wallace fighting the Brits,
No,
and
no,
getting
you can have
and
fun with it.
failing at getting freedom. Be honest, failing at it.
Well, he did eventually get freedom, but
Yeah, but he died.
but death
He
was his
died.
freedom.
He did.
Well,
Dang, I'm gonna
I
go watch Braveheart. I think.
no, throw on some Highlander. You've not seen it. You should watch it before.
Actually, let me ask you this. Okay, so I am watching Josie this afternoon. Okay,
Okay.
I have to pick between a couple movies while Kenzie goes and gets her nails done.
A couple. How long is she going to be going to get her nails done?
No, I have to pick one of these
Okay.
movies, and I need
Okay.
help.
What's your lineup right now?
The Nun Part 2, which I kind of said I
No.
wanted to watch with her, so she might nix that one.
Yeah, nix that one. Already, no. Don't watch The
On
Nun.
Netflix, there's a movie called The Killer. The director for who was it David Fincher who
Killer?
did Fight Club? Was that David Fincher?
Sure.
Maybe. The director of Fight Club did
Okay.
a new movie on Netflix called The Killer. Interested in that.
Mhm.
And then Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse or Into the Spider-Verse is on
You not
Netflix.
seen it yet?
It's on Netflix. I haven't seen it yet.
You did watch the first one though, right?
Nope.
So, no, not Spider-Verse. I would say yes, Spider-Verse, but no, because you have not
If
seen
I
the
haven't
first
seen the first one. But
one.
I
You gotta
can't
watch
find
the first
where I
one.
watched the first one.
You might have to rent it, my guy.
Dang it.
Um,
So I guess and then or just more Peaky Blinders is my other.
no,
And
don't
I might just go towards
don't
Peaky
Peaky it.
Blinders.
I know that's the easy option, but you've seen Peaky. Throw
Well, I'm
on
also taking
either
care of a baby while I do this, so
okay, I could be wrong about this, but I'm gonna throw out 2 options that are better options than what you have. Either 1, Highlander, or 2, I'm pretty sure Hulu has released the next Poirot movie, the Haunting
Poirot.
in Venice, Poirot Haunting in Venice.
Oh,
Netflix, or
yes.
not Netflix, Hulu has released Haunting in Venice
Did
on
you
their
watch it already?
I have not, because 'cause I've been
Alright,
really
I'm
busy.
watching it. I'm watching
Haunting
that for
in
sure.
Venice on Hulu is what I think you should go for because
Wait, I'm gonna have to wait for that too, because Kenzie for sure wants to watch that.
okay,
Alright, I'll
well,
watch The Haunting in Venice tonight, for sure. I'll
mhm,
skip out on Peaky Blinders tonight to watch The Haunting in Venice if it is on Hulu, and we'll
okay,
go
I'm
from there.
pretty sure that they released it on Hulu. I could be wrong about that, but I
Well, I'll
think
check it
someone
out.
said that.
Thank you guys so much for joining us on
Yeah,
today's podcast. I wanted to mention to you as we fade out, Joshua, that you said the word spearheaded 3 times.
for
You
who
never
for
used that word during this podcast.
Henry Cavill is definitely taking a spear and he's
Queen
charging
is
the
also spearheading the soundtrack.
well,
You
maybe they
said it
don't
3 times. You used the word spearhead, and I don't think I've never heard that word come out of your mouth until
well,
today. You used it.
I'm
You
trying to
discovered a new word,
I
is what you
did. It's
did.
spearhead. I also learned the word I got nothing for you on that one.